Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Space News for Friday, August 31st. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kyle Henry. Let's talk about what's going on in space.
I never want to hold again.
Falcon Heavy is on startup.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Status check.
Go Delta.
5, 4, 3.
Our top story, there was a leak discovered aboard the ISS Thursday morning. This leak came from the orbital module of the Soyuz MS-09 spacecraft. It was a 2mm hole and was patched on Thursday, and the crew was in no danger during the leak. On the ground, the mobile launcher rolled out to Launch Complex 39B over the last day. It began yesterday afternoon and reached Launch Complex 39B earlier today. This was the first time a fully complete mobile launcher has reached the pad with all of the umbilicals attached, and is expected to stay at Launch Complex 39B until September 7th. After that, it will take the 4.4-mile trek back to the VAB. And last time we mentioned that the NASA Advisory Council held a meeting, and we didn't cover it because it was still sort of going on and we didn't have all the facts, but we do now, so let's talk about it. First up, one of the main announcements was that the Lunar Gateway Station will now be launched mostly by commercial vehicles. Previously, it had been expected to be launched as secondary payloads aboard an SLS Block 1B with Orion. However, now it will be launched by commercial vehicles. The NAC meeting also brought announcements about the Commercial Crew Program. NASA is now in talks with SpaceX about making the Dragon crewed test flight an operational flight. However, NASA had also been in talks with Boeing about this, so it's likely that whoever is the first crew vehicle to launch to the ISS will be an operational flight, while the other one will likely stay as a test flight. They also announced that there has been an extension in the margins that NASA has between when Russian flights would end and when crewed flights aboard commercial vehicles would begin. They now have until January of 2020 to get a crew vehicle certified. In other NASA news, NASA astronaut candidate Rob Coolin has dropped out. He did this for personal reasons. He had previously worked at SpaceX, and we wish Rob the best in whatever he goes on to do. And last week we talked about how New Horizons was going to attempt to capture its first images of Ultima Thule. Well, it turns out they were successful, and New Horizons has captured its first image a month ahead of schedule. Back in commercial crew land, ULA has installed a new white room at Launch Complex 41. Called the Common Clean Room, it will provide greater flexibility and support for Starliner launches. No reason was given for why they changed out white rooms. However, if I had to guess, it might be something to do with flying crew aboard Vulcan when Atlas V is retired in the near future. However, I have nothing to really base that off of. This is just sort of me speculating, but it's a very possible thing given that Vulcan will fly out of Launch Complex 41 as well. And over in Japan, JAXA has test fired an H3 solid rocket booster. The booster fired for 110 seconds for a successful test. These boosters will be used aboard the H3 rocket, which is the successor to Japan's H2 rocket. The H3 rocket is currently expected to have its first flight in 2020 and will fly without any of the solid rocket boosters. And finally, what's becoming more or less a habit is another SpaceX delay. The final Iridium mission has now been delayed to no earlier than November. However, I cannot stress this enough, this was not because of any issues with SpaceX. Instead, this was due to spacecraft readiness and availability. So this one's not really SpaceX's fault, and can't really say the other two delays that they've had in the last couple of weeks were SpaceX's fault because they just haven't really told us anything. But the other two delays, the SciComm launch and the Telstar 18V, are still on track as of recording this. And finally, there are no launches upcoming between this newscast and our next one on Tuesday. But I'm Kyle Henry. Thank you so much for watching. We post newscasts like this every Tuesday and Friday. So if you enjoyed, hit the like and subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on what's going on in space. Also, links to my social media are in the description down below. I post mainly about space travel, so if that seems interesting to you, check it out. We also post the sources for today's stories in the description below, so you can fact check us, and if something doesn't seem right, let us know. We strive for 100% accuracy in our coverage. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.